Hello, and welcome to Cultivate and Collaborate, where we sit down with global leaders across agri-food and agribusiness, talking about leadership, problem solving, and how to create partnerships that move our industry forward. We're excited to share trends in agri-food software and data, along with growing opportunities for collaboration and innovation across the entire supply chain. It's all right here on Cultivate and Collaborate. I'm Reynertson, President and CEO of Cultura Technologies, and thank you for listening.
Matt Ashton, I'm the CEO at New Vision Co-op in Brewster, Minnesota. So we are a locally owned farmer co-op, Southwest Minnesota, Northwest Iowa, Southeast South Dakota is really our trade territory. So
yeah, so you're fairly substantial.
Yeah, we have
in that area.
Yeah, 18 locations, 2,700 members. We've got about 190 full-time employees.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, great. And this is Rich Reynertson from Cultura. And I just wanted to have a conversation with you today because, the world of IT and software is accelerating. The advent of AI, there's a massive amount of legacy systems out there in agriculture, from seed all the way out to the grocery store. Mm-hmm. We're seeing it in the large enterprises and in the smaller businesses. And with that, there's been a lot of small fit-for-purpose startups, for better reason. There's older legacy software that's sitting out there. And I know you recently had an experience that I think anybody listening to this might benefit from, where you had, I'll set it up for you, tell me if I'm right or wrong. Yeah. You had a supplier that was a small business, and they were providing something valuable to you. And you made a decision with not a sister company, but with another group to acquire that, and then subsequently to unacquire it, right? To move it along. So How does one, is it fair to say you're a mid-market versus global enterprise?
Yep. Yes.
How does a mid-market business decide it's a good idea to acquire a supplier? And I'll save my other questions. Sure. Talk us through that decision process.
Well, yeah, we were a customer of BIG, and we really liked the product. We needed a platform where we could really consolidate our information and get access to the information at real time without building spreadsheets and running reports out of various ERP systems that we had at the time. And so that was the reason why we initially went to BIG as a customer, is we felt we were behind the eight ball, and that we did not have the ability to make data-driven decisions in a timely basis. And so from a customer standpoint, that's why we chose BIG. And so when the opportunity arose to acquire a portion of BIG, because of the value that we saw and the information that it provided at a real-time basis, we felt that the target audience of BIG was the local cooperatives. And so from an investor standpoint, we knew the value it brought to New Vision. We saw the value in the ability to make quicker and better and more informed decisions. We really felt like this was a need in the marketplace from a mid-market local cooperative perspective. The pace of change, the ability to react and be proactive from a customer perspective, and then from a potential ownership perspective. That's what really drew us to dig in and look at the ability to maybe acquire this as part of our business at New Vision, because of the value that we saw as a customer.
Yeah, interesting. So you're obviously you're the CEO of a co-op, and software investing is not something you do on a regular basis.
Correct.
Right, and that's that side of it. And you saw an opportunity.
Yeah. I think it was there's a couple things. It was a non-traditional revenue source for us. It was something that we thought that as a owner, we could bring to our owner or customers that would bring value to those customers. And so that's what really intrigued us about it. I mean, technology and innovation is it's a core strategy at New Vision. And so that kind of fit with that. And quite frankly, we saw the value as a customer of what that brought to our business every day. And we really felt and still feel that this is a need at the local cooperative level. And so that's what really drew us to look at it from an investment standpoint.
I'm assuming you had discussions with either a board member, not a total user community, that there's some kind of investment committee that you deal with.
Yeah.
And so putting a pitch deck together saying, hey, this is non-traditional.
Right.
Talk about how did that go? Was it hard? Was it easy? Was it?
Well, I think, so we have 7 board members. And so Throughout when we were a customer of BIG, we presented at our monthly board meetings, the financials we presented using BIG. We used it, for our equity position. That's all in BIG. And so the board, whether it was grain reporting or agronomy or anything, they were familiar with BIG because we used it in our monthly board meetings. And so they saw the benefits of what it brought to New Vision because they experienced it every month at our board meetings. And so from a pitch deck standpoint, they were comfortable with BIG because we were a customer, because we used it and they experienced it every month. And so to go from that to saying, okay, now look here, we have the opportunity to maybe be an investor and an owner in this. And so that conversation with our board was easier because of the access that they had to it prior to that.
So user first, understand the value. You didn't create a small venture group that looked at putting minority investments in technology and agriculture. That's not a part of that core.
Right. No, and really any capital investment we make, we have a core group of our leadership team that vets that before we present anything to the board. So there's a lot of ideas that never get it to the board because we vet it. And so, but again, the familiarity with BIG from our board perspective made it a little easier to pitch that idea because of their prior experience with it.
We, as investors ourselves, we see some of our really large enterprise customers create a venture capital arm. And they go out and make investments, and they never use it internally, which I always thought was kind of interesting.
Yeah. It's hard to support something that you don't use yourself.
Exactly. And so you got then. So post acquisition, you're now with. You weren't the only one, right? You found someone to do it with you, and you served on a board,
right?
Yeah. And what was that experience like? On the board of a software / consulting business.
Software for in IT in general is. It's not, as a CEO of a local farmer cooperative, it's not, your main focus every day. Yeah. So I learned a lot, honestly, through that process and being on the board and representing the members of New Vision on an IT, as an IT investor. It was really interesting. Like I said, probably the biggest thing I learned a lot about the whole space being on that board. One of the things, and as an owner at our monthly board meetings, I presented the financials, I presented what was going on there. So the board stayed really informed on where we were at as far as an investor at BIG. And so to answer your question, I think the thing that I just learned a tremendous amount about the technology space being on that board.
How did you manage the conflict between we think this big or whatever the company's name was requires this to be successful to scale, but it might not be a priority for your local business? Yeah. The difference between a board member and a product manager. Did you ever have, especially with your other board partner, did you ever have those conflicts?
I don't think we ever had any conflicts on the strategic direction of BIG as a board member or as an owner. Ultimately, what really, drove the decision to divest of BIG was it's not part of our core business and it's really not part of our long-term strategic initiative at New Vision as an owner. And quite frankly, we knew that we needed to find an owner of BIG that was focused on this every day. And so really one of the main questions that really drove me to recommend that we divest of this to the board was it's not one of our core strategic initiatives. As an owner, technology and innovation is a strategic initiative, but having an ownership in that is not. And the capital that was needed to deploy to BIG was going to take away from capital that was going to be needed in our core.
You mean there's such a thing as limited capital?
Limited capital, absolutely, 100%. Yeah, and so really, the investments to benefit the membership of New Vision were better used, in grain, agronomy, feed, which was our core business versus IT or versus BIG. And so we never really lost sight of the focus of BIG as a board member, but as an owner, that's really what ended up driving the decision to have the conversation about divesting of it.
And in the putting together of the kind of the ownership with another partner, and that partner was also a customer,
right?
As I understood it.
Yeah.
And how were those? Did you come to the same conclusion at the same time?
No, I think we did. I think, the other owner, we knew Vision and the other owner still have a very good relationship. And so we would have conversations about the strategic direction of BIG and what was needed for BIG. And as the owner group, whether or not we thought, it was in the best interest of the customers of BIG for us to continue to be the owners because of what we saw coming and what the needs of our customers were. And we were, as a customer of BIG, we were pushing that we need this more and we need X, Y, and Z, and we need it faster and the capital that was needed to deploy it. And so, from a customer standpoint, we knew that there was things that we needed as a customer that BIG probably we weren't going to be able to get through BIG with the ownership structure in place that was in place. And so I think, I would tell you that we came to the conclusion at the same time. We still have a very good relationship. So there was no issue about arriving to that,
So there wasn't a prenup form that said, if one wants out, you can do this, or the other one wants out, you can do that.
No.
I always learned there were three parts to every agreement, right? Getting into it, living with it, and getting out of it.
Right.
You should think about all three, right? When you enter, because
and I think certainly the relationship that we have with the other owner helped with the facilitation of each of those three things.
Yeah.
And if there had been an adversarial relationship, we wouldn't have been a co-owner in the first place, but it certainly would have made it much harder to divest of. Yes.
Yeah. So eventually you made the decision not that you're still a customer.
Yes, we're still a customer.
Not on the ownership side. So just kind of to recap.
Yeah.
Obviously, no matter what experience we have, we take away something from it. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Like learning, whether it's skills process or knowledge or what to do, what not to do. Right. If someone listening to this had something similar because there's startups all over the planet that said, hey, someone's knocking on my door. I think this could be valuable for our business, but they might be financially strapped or you might be worried about longevity or whatever the needs are. What kind of recommendation would you have for a strategic customer going to go through? You should really think through and decide if and it can maybe there's not a yes or no. There's just I wish we'd have done this different or would have thought about it this way before we got into it. Yeah,
that's a great question. I think BIG I was a startup company. You have the initial investment to become an owner. I think what is the ongoing investment that's needed from a capital resources to run the business, to serve the customers. That was something that I think we underestimated. I think the other thing that you really need to think about is how fast you can scale your business. That became very apparent early on that the ability to scale this business was going to be a challenge with the current structure in place without serious capital investment. So I think, again, you know what it's going to cost to buy it, but you also need to make sure you're comfortable with what it's going to take from an ongoing investment and what you think it's going to take versus reality. If you think it's going to take X, it's probably X plus 25% from an ongoing investment standpoint, if you want to scale it, because at the end of the day, you want to be profitable. And so you can't expect the business to run in its current state. As an investor, you've got to make sure you're comfortable that what's the pace of growth and how we're going to get there and what's the cost as the investor. And so those were probably the two things that as I look back, I probably would have looked at a little differently. Yeah, good. Well, I know as the CEO of a business, you've got a membership. I'm in a public company. We deploy our capital, both human and financial,
right? To drive returns for me, my shareholders, for you, your shareholders.
Right. Yep.
Which is a little bit different structure. And you want to do that to the benefit of your customers and offer opportunities for your staff, but also for those that allow us to spend their money.
Right.
They want to get returns for that. Right.
Yeah, we're a for-profit business, even if we're a farmer-owned cooperative, but we are a for-profit business.
Yeah, well, neither you or I are petitioning for the government for more subsidies.
Correct. Yes. Yeah. Right.
Although we take them if they offered.
Right. Yeah. No, I think. We as the CEO of a local farmer-owned cooperative, one of my main jobs is to protect and grow the members' equity. Right, and so. If we make an investment of any type, we expect a return on that. And the members expect a return on that. And so I certainly think I don't regret owning it. I don't regret buying it. I don't regret divesting of it. I think it was really good for New Vision as an owner. I think it's been really good for New Vision as a customer. It really came down to we had better uses of the capital long term that was needed to run BIG the way that our customers expect it to be ran. There's a lot of learnings there. I've learned a lot through it. But I certainly don't regret the process that we went through.
Key question of the day.
Yeah.
Would you do it again?
Yeah, it's a great question. Yeah, I think I would have. I think we never bought it with the intention of selling it. We bought it because we felt like there was a need in the marketplace. I think what I would have done differently is I think I needed to probably do a better job, and we needed to do a better job of what the ongoing investment was needed. And so, I would definitely do it again. I think one of the other things that in hindsight maybe we could have done is how do our customers, maybe did we need more member owners, so to speak, from a true cooperative structure standpoint. But I would have done it again, but I think the outcome would have probably been the same, is that at some point we realized that we need a partner or somebody to buy it that is in this every day, that has the capital needed to deploy it to the right level, that maybe has a little bit bigger customer base that can access this. And I think it's just the pace of change and the pace of growth is not slowing down, and you got to find somebody that's fully committed to that every day. So,
yeah, it's interesting. So source and use of capital.
Absolutely.
I know software companies don't typically compete with facility retrofits or maintenance or adding locations. Not really competing with cement.
Right. It did, at the end of the day, it didn't really cost us a lot of money. It did make us a lot of money. I think we've learned a lot through the process. I think BIG has gotten better through the process. I think BIG, I'm really, really excited to see where it goes in the future because of the company that bought BIG. And I'm very excited about who bought BIG and the strategic intent, and certainly as a customer, that excites me as the future.
Well, appreciate your time. Thank you for sharing and insights.
Yeah.
Hopefully, someone can take some lessons out of this, and
well, thanks for the opportunity.
We'll make smarter decisions in the future.
Yeah. No, thank you. Appreciate it very much.
Okay.
Yeah.